Now there's a lot of merit in carrying ferro rods, whether it's a real small one like this guy that Tops Knives makes, or these larger ones you can get from different websites and then put your own handles on. There's a lot of variety out there. And they're great tools. I recommend everybody carry one in the field because unlike a lighter, they don't get damaged by the wet. Unlike a match, they don't get affected by the wind. Unlike a lot of things like flint and steel, the tinders are a lot more varied. I can use a lot of stuff that would be considered a flash kindling or a flash tinder rather than just relying on things like chaga mushroom, char cloth, and things like that. I can use birch bark, I can use cedar bark, I can use grasses, I can use cattail heads, I can use even finely shaped wood. Whatever it is, I can use with this. It gives me a lot more options for the scenarios that I can put myself into, either on purpose or by accident. The difference with this, mainly with other things, is there's also a lot of varieties of options for lighting. A lot of people know that you can use your knife with a ferro rod. They burn quite hot. But what other options do we have? Other than the little striker that usually comes with them that frankly is rarely very effective, what other options do we have available in our kit and out here in the field? Let's break into that right now. Now when it comes down to strikers or scrapers, which is really what they are, we're not striking the ferro rod, there's a lot of options. Most people know that they can use their knife. Most people should know that they don't use their knife edge on the scraper. Knives are tempered only in the hundreds of degrees. This is burning at the thousands of degrees. So we have to be very cautious of putting our knife to that. If you got a nice hard spine on your knife, you can strike or scrape very close to the handle, way out near the tip, and different scenarios are going to require different things. If I'm trying to get that one little pile of tinder that I was able to get and scrape, I'm going to want to be really close to the handle. If I don't want to be down near the ground because it's wet, I can be standing up a little bit or kneeling over and striking and having a little bit more leverage and throwing my sparks further out towards the tip. Now, a lot of custom-made knives and factory knives are hardened all the way across. Some knives, like the Dragonfly from Tops Knives, has got a differential heat treat. The spine is actually fairly soft and it will make sparks. But the best option available for the Tops knives because of their differential heat treat is you think about how that edge is going to be harder than the spine. That means that right here is nice and hard. Making very, very easy showers of sparks. Now, if you don't have a knife with you, for whatever reason that might be, there are other options available for scrapers. This is a piece of chert, which is as close to Canadian flint as you can get. And you can see it does produce sparks. On the other hand, this piece of soapstone, well, all it's doing is making dust on my rod. And that's the whole point here, is you have to use something harder than the rod. Soapstone, one of the softest materials out in nature. Chert, one of the hardest. But if you don't have chert around, piece of broken glass makes a very good scraper. Your sharpening stones, as long as they're made of an actual stone or a ceramic, they will also work because they have to be harder than the steel that's being ground against them. They have to be able to be hard enough to scrape this. When it comes down to all these options, you have to remember that they have to be harder. I can't use a piece of wood. I can't use a piece of bark. I can't use char cloth. I can't use my rope. I have to use things that are dense, things that are solid and hard. But even these small ones, these small ferro rods with the magnesium bars on them, I take a piece of broken glass and it works just fine. Are those sparks hot enough to be able to start up tinder? Well, take that piece of broken glass, look for an edge on it, take my little ferro rod here and the piece of broken glass, Look for a good edge on it. There we are, right near my finger. That seems to work. Not bad at all. Piece of chert or flint. Makes a nice shower of sparks. No problem there. So as you can see, these work. All these alternative options do work. You can see all those extra pieces of ferro sparking up as this goes. And this is one of the reasons why we love birch bark in the Canadian woods. Really, anywhere you can find birch bark, you're going to be happy. But even the ferro inside your lighter, that's a ferro rod. That's a very small ferro rod. And it will work. If you have no fuel, you can pop off the body, the casing here, take off the little safety feature that's on there. I don't even understand why those are on there most of the time. I was taught how to take that off by a 10-year-old, so I'm not sure how it's a kid-safe system or kid-proof. But once you do that, you can begin to scrape on top of your tinder, and then throw little sparks just by moving it forward like that. There's a lot of options. If you got a Zippo, same system. I guess what I'm trying to say here is think outside the box. Practice more with alternative options. If it works well with your knife, and you've gotten very accustomed to using it, you're dependable with it, almost every fire you push with that works immediately, start moving forward. Start practicing again with shards of glass, stones, sharpening stones, even trap pliers, of all things. This is mild steel, and it still provides a spark. In other words, depend on this. Don't worry so much about everything else. Depend on this and this. Learn to practice with this any situation. It doesn't care whether it's wet outside, whether it's cold outside or hot outside. It doesn't care if the wind is blowing. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're hungry. This thing, really all it cares about is, can I make a spark? And that's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. It makes a spark. And if you have the means of making a spark and you have the material to catch that spark and bring it to flame, then you have a fire in any situation. Practice, practice, practice. Every firemaking method you use, practice it until you are dependable on it in any situation. Practice it when it's cold out. Practice it when you're tired. If you're thirsty, try to make a fire before you have your coffee or your water or your tea. If you're hungry, before you make that sandwich, make a ferro rod fire. Practice, practice, practice in every situation you can. And once you're good with this, you can move on to things like the flint and steel kits. You can move on to bow drills, hand drills, the fire plow if you really want to. There's so many different options out there that you can start to practice with once you've got dependable with one system that you never lose. Dependability and redundancy is the main goal with fire kits. I'll carry one of these in my pocket, I'll carry one of these in my pack, I might put it on one of these fire steel loops on my knife sheath, I'll even hang one around my neck. No problem with that, but I also carry matches, lighters, flint and steel. I may only take one knife out in the bush with me. I may take only one axe out in the bush with me and one cook pot and one hank of cord and one tarp. But I'll always carry multiple means of lighting a fire, as should you, especially if you're just getting into this.